People assume the worst relationships are the loud ones, the screaming, the slammed doors, the words you can't take back. Ours wasn't like that. That was the problem. Her name was Hannah, and we almost never fought. At first, that felt like success. We told people we were easy, low drama, on the same page. I wore that like a badge. We met in our early 30s, both tired of chaos, both convinced calm meant compatibility. She liked structure, I liked predictability. It felt safe. The first year was smooth. We split checks without tension, made plans weeks in advance, apologized quickly, even when we weren't sure why. No raised voices, no ultimatums. Whenever something uncomfortable surfaced, we handled it gently, too gently. If she felt disappointed, she softened it. "It's not a big deal," she'd say. "I just thought maybe." I'd nod. "Agree. Move on." If I felt overwhelmed, I minimized it. "I'm just tired," I'd say. "Work stuff." She accepted that, too easily. We became experts at maintaining peace, at the cost of honesty. I noticed it first in the pauses. The way she'd inhale before speaking, then decide not to. The way conversations ended slightly earlier than they used to, not abruptly, carefully. One night, we were sitting on the balcony, city lights, traffic below. She asked, "Do you think we avoid things?" I smiled. "Like what?" She shrugged. "Never mind." That should have been the moment. It wasn't. We didn't argue about money. We didn't argue about schedules. We didn't argue about the future. We just postponed it. I told myself we were mature. That drama was for people who didn't know how to communicate. I didn't realize silence can also be a language. Hannah started spending more time with friends, not suspiciously, naturally. I encouraged it. Space is healthy, right? Sometimes she came home energized, sometimes quiet. I didn't ask which version meant more. We still laughed, still touched, still shared a bed, but the intimacy felt curated, like something we maintained rather than entered. I remember a Sunday morning, coffee on the table, sunlight through the window. She said, "Do you ever feel like we're being careful with each other?" I answered too fast. "I think that's respect." She nodded, but her eyes didn't agree. Weeks later, she stopped asking questions like that. I noticed the relief I felt. That should have scared me. We were peaceful, but peace isn't the same as connection. Sometimes it's just avoidance wearing a nicer name. I didn't know it then, but this was the beginning. Not of an argument, of a distance neither of us wanted to be responsible for naming. Because the hardest conversations aren't the angry ones. They're the honest ones you're afraid will ruin everything. And we were both very good at not ruining things. It settled in, like dust you don't notice until it coats everything. Hannah stopped finishing her sentences. Not because she had nothing to say, because she'd already decided it wasn't worth the risk. I noticed it in small moments. She used to tell me about her day in detail, the annoying coworker, the weird meeting, the joke she almost laughed at too loudly. Now I got summaries. Work was fine. Nothing much. At first, I appreciated it. Less emotional labor, less unpacking. I told myself we were efficient. One evening, she came home later than usual. Not late enough to worry, late enough to be different. She put her keys down carefully. Too carefully. "You okay?" I asked. "Yeah," she said. "A beat. Just tired." That sentence used to mean something. Now it meant nothing at all. She started going to bed earlier. I stayed up, scrolled, watched shows we said we'd watch together. I told myself it didn't matter. We still touched, but it was functional. A hand on the back, a kiss that said, "I see you," instead of, "I want you." One night, I tried to push past the calm. "Do you ever feel disconnected from me?" She froze. Not visibly, internally. I could feel it. She answered carefully. "I think everyone feels that sometimes." Not yes, not no. A safe, neutral place. I let it go. Of course I did. The thing about avoiding conflict is that it trains you, teaches you which feelings are acceptable, which ones should be filed away for later. Later that never comes. Hannah became more contained, less spontaneous. She planned everything, even emotions. I once asked her what she wanted in 5 years. She smiled. Polite, distant. "I don't know," she said. things change. She used to have answers. There was a night we lay in bed, facing opposite walls, close enough to touch, far enough to pretend we didn't notice the gap. I thought about reaching for her. Then I thought about what it might open, a conversation, a truth, a crack in the quiet. So I stayed still. She did too. Two people protecting the same fragile peace. Weeks passed. Nothing exploded. Nothing resolved. That was the danger. The relationship didn't feel bad. It just didn't feel alive. One afternoon, I found her crying in the bathroom, silent, controlled, like she didn't want even herself to hear it. I asked what was wrong. She wiped her face. "I don't know," she said. But we both knew that wasn't true. I held her. She let me, but she didn't lean in. That night, she said something I couldn't forget. "I think I'm losing parts of myself." I waited for the follow-up. It never came. And for the first time, I realized something terrifying. We weren't avoiding fights. The end didn't come during our fight. It came on an ordinary morning. Sunlight slipped through the curtains like it always did. The room smelled like coffee she hadn't finished. Everything looked the same. That was the problem. Hannah sat at the kitchen table, hands wrapped around a mug that had long gone cold. She didn't look up when I entered. "I've been thinking," she said. "Not we need to talk. Not something's wrong. Just that." I sat across from her. My chest tightened before my mind caught up. Thinking never meant nothing. "I don't think I'm unhappy," she continued. The pause after that sentence stretched, "but I don't think I'm here either." I waited for emotion, tears, anger, anything I could react to. She stayed calm. Oh, that scared me more. She finally looked at me. "I feel like I disappeared quietly," she said, "and no one noticed, not even me." I opened my mouth, closed it. Every response felt wrong. Defensive sounded cruel. Comfort sounded dishonest. "I don't blame you," she added quickly. "That's the worst part." That's when it hit me. There was no villain in this story, just erosion. She explained slowly how she'd been shrinking herself to keep things smooth. How she stopped asking for things because it felt easier not to need them. How love turned into maintenance. "I don't want to wake up one day and realize I lived half a life," she said. Her voice didn't shake. Mine did. "I thought we were okay," I whispered. She nodded. "We are. That's why this is hard." Okay wasn't enough. Not anymore. We sat in silence, not the tense kind, the honest kind, the kind that doesn't ask to be fixed. "I don't want to leave angry," she said. "I want to leave honest." I asked the question I already knew the answer to. "Is there anything we can do?" She thought for a long time, then shook her head. "I think if we try now, it'll just be fear pretending to be effort." That sentence stayed with me. Fear pretending to be effort. We didn't pack bags that day, didn't make announcements, didn't cry dramatically on the floor. We made dinner, talked about neutral things, laughed once, softly like a memory. Later, she stood in the doorway with her coat on, paused, looked back. "I did love you," she said. "I just couldn't stay." The door closed gently. No slam, no echo. Weeks later, I realized something strange. I missed her, but I also felt lighter. Not relieved, just honest. Some relationships don't end because they fail. They end because they stop growing, and staying becomes the quietest form of self-betrayal. I still think of her sometimes, not with regret, with respect. Because she left before silence turned into resentment. And that takes courage.